Even though I made a really big mistake, I still did something I'm really proud of. I created a business that's done over $1 million in sales. And I did that while traveling, only working a few hours a week, and actually enjoying my life for these last few years. And I'm gonna share with you all my numbers, including my revenue, all my different product costs, all the different Amazon FBA fees, including things nobody else talks about. Then I'm gonna share with you step by step exactly how I did it, including the product that I sold on Amazon. Because if I can do this, you can do this too. Then I'm gonna share with you the 3 biggest mistakes I made, including one mistake that cost me over $500,000. And if you watch any part of this video, make sure you stay till the end, because this one mistake is probably the biggest mistake I've made in my entire life, at least when it comes to business. And make sure to hit the like button, because I'm gonna be 100% honest and 100% transparent about my entire experience. And over the last 3.5 years, I've sold over 42,000 units of my product, which is over $1 million worth of sales. But that number is revenue and not profit. People like to brag about the revenue numbers, but it doesn't really matter, because with any business, there's a lot of costs, and all that really matters is the profit. And the first cost I had was I had to actually pay for the products that I was selling on Amazon. And I spent over $300,000 paying for the products that I sold on Amazon. But I didn't spend all that money up front, and I'll talk about every single expense I had for starting this business in just a few minutes. But the next fee I had to pay to run my business is the Amazon FBA selling fee. And there's a flat 15% fee just to sell on the Amazon platform. And even though this is a lot of money, I think this fee is 100% worth it, because Amazon has over 132 million Prime customers. They're the #1 e-commerce website in the world, and by selling on their platform, you're gonna make a lot more money. I also spent $150,000 on the Amazon FBA pick and pack fee. And this is the fee that every time you get a sale, Amazon picks, packs, and ships your product out to the customer. And again, I spent a lot of money on this fee, but I think it was 100% worth it, because it makes it so Amazon is shipping my products for me, meaning I can travel around the world, I can spend my time doing whatever I want to do instead of having to be stuck shipping products. But I did spend over $23,000 on just other random Amazon fees, things like storage fees, receiving fees, and other little small fees. I also paid almost $70,000 in Amazon PPC, and PPC stands for pay per click advertising. It basically allows you to advertise your product on Amazon's website, making it so that your product goes to the top of the search results. And if your product is at the top of the search results, people are more likely to click on your product. And if they click on your product, that means they're likely to buy your products. I also spent around $32,000 in just other random fees, things like hiring virtual assistants to run my business for me, and just other fees associated with running a business, like LLC fees, insurance, and just other random fees like that. And in total, I've done over $380,000 in profit from selling my products on Amazon. And that's not even including my Shopify website, where I've done tens of thousands of dollars in profit as well. But I want to share with you a secret I discovered a few years ago. And around 8 years ago, I was probably in a similar situation to where you are now. I went to college, I got a job, and about a year into my corporate job, I realized for 40 hours a week, I was in prison. There was no incentive for me to work hard. If I worked my butt off, at the end of the year, I'd get a 3, 4, 5% raise. And this led to me getting really depressed. I felt like all the joy of life had been sucked out of me. And I realized that if I could create a business that could make $100,000 per year and use things like Amazon FBA's fulfillment program and hire virtual assistants to run my business for me, I could live my dream life and I'd still be making really good money. So I quit my job, and I spent the next few years struggling, trying to make money online. And I started an online dance clothing company with my mom. And that business did okay, but it didn't make me anything close to $100,000 a year, and it wasn't really that passive. I even ended up at one point having to move back in with my parents. I felt completely defeated, and I was constantly burned out because I didn't care about dance clothing. And I realized that I wanted to sell something that I was passionate about. And I noticed that there was a trend. People were starting to eat more healthy fat. I even saw this in my own food choices. I used to eat generic peanut butter, then I moved to organic peanut butter, and then I started eating things like almond butter. But I realized that there was a hole in the market. There was no ultra premium nut butter, and the branding for all the other nut butters was focused on moms and kids. There was no brand that was focused on people like me. So I ended up buying a food processor, and I started experimenting with different recipes. I started posting about this on Instagram, and I got people to join an email wait list for my product, and I started to get a lot of interest for my product. So I spent $800 creating a logo. I used a website called 99 Designs, and I got a lot of different options. I had everybody from my email list join join a Facebook group and I showed them all the different logos, and everybody voted on what their favorite logo was. Now, I use 99 Designs to get my logo done, but you don't have to spend $800 on a logo. There's sites like Fiverr or Upwork where you can get a logo for a lot cheaper. But I wanted to take this seriously and get a professional logo. And I also spent around $275 trademarking my logo. Now, this is completely optional, but I just wanted to make sure that my brand was protected. I then hired the designer that made my logo to design all my product packaging, and this only cost a few $100s. The next step was to find a company that could manufacture my product. And this was one of the hardest steps of the entire process, because I wanted to sell my product in individual squeeze packs. And not that many manufacturers can do that. But eventually I found one, and I had to pay $750 in startup fees. And with that, they created a small sample run of the product, and it tasted amazing. But they told me to do a full production run in pouches, it would cost around $25,000. Now, I didn't have $25,000 for a production run, so I decided to do a Kickstarter. And here's the secret: even if you don't have a lot of money, but you have a great idea, you can use Kickstarter to raise the money you need for a production run. So I launched a Kickstarter, and I sent out emails to everybody on my email list. I posted about it on Instagram and in my Facebook group, and by the end of the first day, I had done over $7,000 in sales. By the third day, I had done over $10,000 in sales. And by the end of the Kickstarter, I had done around $15,000 in pre-sales. So I took that money, I took what I had in the bank, and the first thing I did was I created an LLC. In California, that costs around $800. But an LLC protects you so that if someone tries to sue your business, they can't come after your personal assets. In most states, it's cheaper to start an LLC, or you can always just do a DBA, which doesn't offer the same amount of protection, but it'll still help you get a business bank account. I then had to buy all the nuts, and I spent over $9,000 on the macadamia, the coconut, and the cashew that goes into this nut butter. I also had to buy the pouch film, which is the material that the individual sachets are made out of. I spent around $1,700 on that. I also spent around $500 on the display boxes and around $200 for the master cases, which are the boxes that the display boxes go into so you can ship it to Amazon. And since I bought the nuts, the pouch film, and the display boxes from different companies, I had to pay for shipping to my manufacturer. I also had to pay a few $1,000s to my manufacturer to grind up the nut butter and put it in the individual pouches. And on top of that, I had to pay for shipping from my manufacturer to the Amazon FBA warehouse. Plus, there were some other random fees associated with doing my first production run. Also, keep in mind, if you want to sell a product on Amazon, it needs to have a UPC code, and that's going to cost you around $30. You also have to pay $39.99 a month if you want to have a professional seller plan on Amazon. And the last and maybe most important thing that most people mess up on is if you're going to be selling a product on Amazon, you want to make sure that your product listing looks good, which means you should probably spend some money on some professional photography, or you can do what I did, and I got a professional 3D render, and that cost me around $100. And when I finally launched my product, in the first month, I ended up doing $15,000 in sales, around $5,000 in profit. Then in my second month, I ended up doing $30,000 in revenue, around $10,000 in profit. And this kept happening month after month, which was great news, except for I was running out of product in Amazon, and I didn't have enough money in my bank account yet to be able to buy my next production run, because Amazon pays you a couple of weeks after you get sales. So I ended up having to cash out my 401k and put every last drop of savings, every last drop of energy I had into doing another production run. And when I received the finished pouches, there was no tear notch. I had to literally hire people to cut tear notches on every single pouch. On top of that, a lot of the pouches were leaking, which meant I had to throw away a lot of the product. But I was able to fix it, and in my first year of selling this product on Amazon, I ended up doing over $360,000 in sales, over $120,000 in profit. I did it. I created a business that was making over $100,000 per year. But then something terrible happened. I ended up having a lot of competitors come in and sell similar products. I had one company that basically copied my design and my packaging. I had another competitor that copied my exact formula, and it was even using the same manufacturer as me. And I had a third competitor that had recently sold the business for $100 million, and they were starting their own competing brand. And I was terrified that my business was going to fail, but I decided to hire some virtual assistants to basically automate and systematize my business so that they could run my business, so that I could spend my time traveling and enjoying my life. Because my goal when I quit my corporate job was to create a business that made over $100,000 per year, and I had finally done it. So I decided that I wanted to start enjoying my life. And the crazy thing is, in that second year, despite me spending my time traveling and doing everything I wanted to do, my business ended up growing, and I ended up doing over $400,000 in revenue, over $150,000 in profit. And the reason that happened is when I created this product, there was no other product like it on the market. So when all these competitors started selling similar products, they spent a lot of money on advertising, letting people know that this kind of a product existed, which means the entire pie grew. Even though now I had a smaller percentage of the pie, I was still making more money. And that's the key. You want to create a unique product that's better than the competition. Ideally, a product that you're passionate about, something that you wish existed in the world. And when you do that, people can copy you, but they're always going to be copies. Now, to be completely honest, in my third year, my sales did drop. I ended up doing around $200,000 in revenue, around $65,000 in profit. But at this point, my business was pretty much completely on autopilot, and I was still making about as much money as I was back at my corporate job. But now, instead of working 40 hours a week, I was maybe working 1 to 2 hours a week. Now I want to share with you all the mistakes I made with this business, including the one mistake that cost me over $500,000. But I want to point out, the secret I realized is that if you want to make a lot of money online, don't do retail arbitrage, don't wholesale someone else's product, don't do private label. What you should do instead is create a unique product, create a passion product. And this works. It's worked for me, it's worked for Steven and Troy, Ariana, Mina, and a lot of other people. And I've done interviews with all these people on my channel. But in all honesty, I did make some really big mistakes. In fact, tens of thousands of dollars worth of mistakes. And the first mistake I made that cost me tens of thousands of dollars was manufacturing problems. I had to spend thousands of dollars fixing pouches that didn't have tear notches, another few $1,000s throwing away leaky pouches. I also at one point had film that was damaged during shipping, and that cost me thousands of dollars. But the biggest mistake I made with manufacturing was picking the wrong manufacturer. And I ended up having a manufacturer that scammed me out of tens of thousands of dollars. So be careful when you're deciding on which manufacturer to work with. The second mistake I made was not growing this business to be bigger. And the truth is, I spent a lot of these last few years feeling like a failure because I saw people growing and selling Amazon businesses for millions and millions of dollars. I've even had people that I've taught my passion product formula to go on and have way more success than I ever did. And to be honest, if I could go back in time, I probably would have grown this business. But that wasn't what my goal was at the time. I wanted to create a business that could make me $100,000 in passive income per year. And I did that. I created a business that could make me income even if I wasn't working on the business. In fact, this year the business has done over $100,000 in revenue, around $50,000 in profit. And it's on track to do around $80,000 profit by the end of the year, which is as much as I was making at my corporate job. But the truth is, the biggest mistake I made with my business, and the mistake that cost me over $500,000, is not selling my business earlier. And the truth is, once I hit my goal, I lost passion for my business. Now the thing is, with a corporate job, if you lose passion for your job and you want to quit, you stop making money as soon as you quit. But with a business, you're creating an asset that you can sell as soon as you don't want to run it anymore. And I did end up selling 75% of my business for a deal that I think is worth over $1 million last year. But if I would have sold this business at the peak, as soon as I was losing passion for it, I probably could have made an extra $500,000. But the most important part of this entire video, and why I made this video, is because if I can do this, you can do this too. I created a free step-by-step video that you can get by clicking right here. So if you want to learn step-by-step how to create your own passive income business, click on this video right here, and I'll see you in the next video. And thanks for watching.